The negotiations with Bi-hyung finished, and the judge urged me. If it is over, then go back. The judge was absent-mindedly staring at my liquor bottle again. It seemed that he hadn't drank enough. Wait, he said that Hades and Persephone wasn't present right now? Hey, Judge Nim, one more thing. I don't know what it is this time, but I'll give you the bottle. The judge's eyes flashed at my words. Please take me to Tartarus again? There was no time, so I went down to Tartarus and then came back up again. It was only a short time, but the judge was already drunk. Then are you done? Yes. Hades and Persephone being away was a divine move for me. I only gave a bit of information, but if I knew Kim Nam-woon, that alone would make a big difference. I was looking forward to the gigantomachia that would arrive one day. There's a message that the queen left. The queen? Yes, I will directly recite it. The judge repeated Persephone's words in a profound voice. Incarnation Kim Dokcha, you have completed the task in a very interesting way. Many nebula in the star stream are watching you. Many of them are hostile towards you. In fact, this scenario had caught too much attention from the constellations. You should be prepared. I became a bit nervous after listening to the story. Was this related to Hades and Persephone's departure? The reactions from other large constellations had notably decreased a while ago. In particular, Uriel? Please note that Uriel was part of the Eden Nebula. The constellation Prisoner of the Golden Headband feels sorry. The constellation Secretive Plotter is comforting Prisoner of the Gold Headband. These guys were still here. Then go well. I nodded. There was no point worrying about it right now. The important thing was to build up my stories. Some nebula might despise me like Persephone said, but it wasn't everyone. There was a distant whirlwind and my field of view gradually changed. Once I opened my eyes again, I had returned. Dokshashi! There was a strange tension in the voice. I hit my cheeks to come to my senses. Then I saw Lee Hyung-sung's anxious face and asked, what happened? The people around us were buzzing. Lee Ji-hee and the others were all crowded around one place. In the air, traces of a disordered space were appearing. A portal. It was the pathway that my companions and I had gone through. Why was this thing open? Hadn't the scenario ended? Lee Hyung-sung explained. The second South Korean group has shown up. The second group? They came now? I'm not really sure. There was a sense that the second group had come too late. Usually the second group appeared a week after the first group, but this time the personnel supplement didn't occur until after the scenario ended. It was different from Japan, whose third group were deployed in an instant. Lee Hyun-sun and I headed towards the portal. Ajashi, this way! I headed in the direction of Lee Ji-hee's voice, and then a man appeared from the portal. His whole body was charcoal, as if he had been burned all over. This man was someone I knew. I asked with a shocked expression. Jung Minsob-shi? What is this? Jung Minsob. He was one of the few readers who was on my side when I was fighting the prophets. I thought he had died after the War of Kings because I hadn't seen his face for a while. Why was he here? Lee Sol-hwa appeared and started to treat Jung Minsob. However, it was already too late. At the last minute, Jung Minsob met my eyes and muttered towards me, Don't come back. They were Jung Minsob's last words. You have protected the peace of Peaceland. A huge string was shining in the air. There was still a festive atmosphere, but the expressions of my party members were different. Lee Ji-hee wondered in a confused voice, What the hell is this? It was a situation where the scenario wasn't completely closed, so it wasn't unusual for additional personnel to be dispatched. Yet, the extra personnel was injured from the beginning. Was there a case like this in Japan? Oscar Wren shook her head at the question. Perhaps they were attacked by something when crossing the portal. Is that possible? There were times when there were dimensional species living in the portal. However, based on my memories, that didn't happen in this scenario. Then Lee Ji-hee gave her opinion. Perhaps the remaining people are fighting among themselves. I didn't want it to be like that, but that was the most realistic guess. Oscar Wren nodded and added, There is no absolute throne on the South Korean side? Yes. And this isn't likely. Japan was currently in a similar situation. In countries that weren't affected by the absolute throne, the leaders of a group often changed. As far as I knew, this happened a few times in Ways of Survival. This situation was a bit surprising. It was still the early stages of the scenario. If the isolated ones joined together, their strength still wasn't high enough. Moreover, Seoul had prepared a contingency plan. There was Yu Sang-ah, Jung Hee-won, and my mother, the King of Wanderers. It was impossible for a new leadership group to emerge as long as they were there. The eyes of the party members were anxious. Perhaps it can't be. None of the scheduled second group had come. Only Jung Min-seob arrived, and he was in a dying state. There was even the message, "Don't go back." I could guess a few possibilities, but we won't know for certain unless we go back. When did he appear? Yu Jun-hyuk spoke from beside me. I nodded at his words. You are correct. Let's go back and check it. Then the scenario message was heard. Additional compensation for the major contributors has arrived. Major contributors Kim Dokcha, Yu Jun-hyuk. Finally, the main scenario rewards had arrived. Do you want to check the compensation history? I nodded. Rewards list? Moonwave Folded Fan, SSS grade. Blue Dragon Sword, SSS. Magic King's Bracelet, SS grade. A choice of one of the following A grade skills. There were a total of 4 rewards. The compensation list was considerable because the scenario was very difficult. The items, such as the Moonwave Folded Fan and the Blue Dragon, would show strength comparable to star relics after they were gradually enhanced. There would be no damages. In addition, there was the Magic King's Bracelet. This was a good item to defend against beginner and intermediate spells from magic-based returnees. However, I had obtained the Grass-Cutting Sword, and the first 2 items weren't very advantageous. The Magic King's Bracelet was intriguing, but the value was reduced unless I met a returnee. Thus, the answer was fixed from the beginning. I will pick the 4th option. A list of skills appeared in front of me. The reason for the increase in rating was because the skills that appeared mainly belonged to the Miram system. Manifestation of Nature New Feet, Small Yang Sword, Tai Chi, Blurred Palms. There were the exquisite techniques of the Shaolin school, or the famous ones like the 24 Plum Blossoms swordsmanships. Every one was a skill I coveted, but I only had one choice, so I had to be careful. As I mentioned last time, regardless of the skill's level, some skills were highly difficult to obtain. There would be a chance to get the Miram skills again, but if I missed this chance, there was a skill I would never get. For example, the Peaceland Limited A-grade skill. I will pick the A-grade skill, Miniaturization. Lee Ji-hee saw my choice and screamed, "Ajashi, are you crazy?" Why? Why would you choose such a thing? It's too stressful to be small. I would rather you choose the Blue Dragon Sword and give it to me. Lee Hyung-sung also looked surprised. The kids didn't care and were playing with each other. On the other hand, the small people looked strangely touched. They probably thought I chose this skill to remember them. Now that the compensation has ended, it is time to go back. I'm sure you've become attached to each other, but please say goodbye. The Dokubi made an announcement, and then a huge portal appeared in the air. Galemium and the small people gathered around us. Go carefully. Thank you. I'll definitely remember you. The small people sang a song of farewell for us. Oscar Ren's eyes reddened. The Japanese group also disappeared into the portal. My party members were the last ones to leave. The song of the small people continued. I kept listening to hear some lyrics. Hero who saved Peaceland. His name isn't Dokja. Dokja. Oh, it's Dokja. Shit, what were these lyrics? The beings of Peaceland are linked to your legend. The achievement can be viewed after becoming a constellation. On top of a bell tower, I could see Kyrgios looking at me. I thought he would run this way and make all sorts of threats after the scenario was over, but he just watched quietly. Asuka told me, I think he appreciates you. Huh? It's just a feeling. I don't know why. Asuka Ren smiled at me. Her qualifications as creator might be lost, but the author was still one of the readers. Let's survive and meet again, people of South Korea. Asuka Ren bowed and disappeared into the portal. Then we also entered. My vision swirled, and once I came to my senses, my feet were touching the ground. I wasn't too dizzy since I'd experienced it once before. The main scenario has ended. The view of Seoul entered my eyes. I looked around and Yu Jun-hyuk was the only one who arrived at the same place as me. We might have entered the same portal, but the exits were different. Still, why was I with this person? Kim Dokja, move. The moment Yu Jung-hyuk spoke, the ground where we were standing exploded. The magic bullets that flew over turned this area into a mess. The Supreme King! Don't panic! Shoot! They aren't on the same side anyway. Leave the Supreme King and go for the King of No Killing. In a way, it was an expected ambush. Dozens of people were gathered beyond the dust clouds. At first glance, they had a great deal of equipment and had sponsors. Were they incarnations belonging to other nebula, like Persephone had warned me about? The answer was still unknown. He can't kill anyone. There's a penalty if he kills. Therefore, don't hesitate. There is a possibility that he collected points and will revive again. Don't miss the time of revival and kill him. When had that information leaked? They even knew the information of King of No Killing. After a moment, the person leading them appeared through the dust. Kim Dokja, slowly put down your weapon and come this way. I listened to his words. As they came closer, their armed appearance became clear. Each person was wearing A-grade equipment, and their overall stats were outstanding. They wouldn't be pushed by the Wanderers group that my mother led. Where the hell had these people come from? Their leader smirked at me, like it was already over. I smiled at him and asked, where did you get my information? What are you going to do? I will let you know that one part is wrong. What? Blade of Faith is activated. Blade of Faith was pulled out and instantly cut the leader and his men who were surrounding me.